today we have two representatives from the Mitsubishi company who will be teaching you guys on business development. So yeah, I'm really excited for this session, and yeah, over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Fuji. So hello once again, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting us. And we're very honored to be a part of the South African Ideas Festival today. We are very excited to be here, and Momo has kindly asked us to present some of our experience in the business development world. And we have about a little bit less than 19 minutes. So we want, Francois and I will introduce ourselves, the background first, and then I will explain what Mitsubishi Corporation is briefly, and how we add value to our partners and our investment in terms of, I'm thinking the theme is money matters. And then Francois will explain his experience about automotive supply chain. And then in the later half, I'm thinking of doing like a group discussion of how to develop business with big corporates. And then we can share ideas. I want to make this interactive session. So if you have any questions, please post in chat, or you can feel free to jump in and ask any questions. So maybe I'll go ahead and introduce myself a little bit more deeper than I did in the ice break. So my name is Ayaka. I am from Japan. I grew up in a city called Toyota. I hope everybody's familiar with Toyota, like the car. So I was actually Googling when they changed my city to Toyota. So Toyota established the headquarters in the central of Japan. And in the 1930s, they actually started to produce cars in the town called Toyota, but the town's name wasn't Toyota. And after they established the factory 30 years later, which was around 1960, they actually changed the name to Toyota. And everybody's, I think it's one of the most well-known word in the world if somebody thinks of Japan. So I'm from there. I grew up there, went to university in Tokyo, which is the capital of Japan. And I took a gap year in my university age. So I wanted to travel abroad, and I wanted to have an adventure. So I volunteered in one of the villages in Kenya. And that was an eye-opener to me. And I always wanted to come back to work in Africa. And now I work trying to promote investment from Japan to Africa to create more jobs and leverage better life of the people who lives in Africa. So that's me. Francois, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Okay. Francois Gultik, born and bred South African, lived in Johannesburg my whole life. Joined Mitsibushi Corporation roughly 16 years ago now. Joined actually a subsidiary company of Mitsibushi Corporation at the time, and then got amalgamated back into the corporation office later on. And my history is automotive supply chain. So we used to sell Mitsubishi vehicles, and no, we are not the Mitsubishi vehicle car company, into South and Southern Africa, and providing solutions for our dealer network within the country. Since then, I've moved on, and now I work together with Ayaka-san and the rest of our team trying to develop new business in Africa, looking for potential investments and opportunity to grow Mitsubishi Corporation around the world. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Francois. If I may share my screen, and I will talk a little bit about our company. and some of the case study of our business development. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, okay, great. Okay. Sorry, let me. Sorry, I can't do present. I don't know why, but I can't do presentation mode. So let me present it in the slide mode. Okay, so we are Mitsibushi Corporation, but I'm thinking if everybody hears the word Mitsubishi, they will think of a car. But we are not a car company. It is confusing. Francois is involved in automotive business, and we are a shareholder of Mitsubishi Motors, but we are not a car company. We do business from, there's a famous wording called we do business from nuclear to noodles. So that's how vast our business is. Our company was founded in 1860s, back in the days, which is about 160 years ago. A man called Yataro Iwasaki. So he was so passionate about creating business in a very rural town in Japan. And as you can see, the Mitsubishi, this 3 diamonds, this actually comes from his family crescent. So his family crescent was 3 diamonds. So he took that from his family and made like a crescent to make it Mitsubishi. So this is a company logo for more than 160 years now. He started a business from shipping and trading. So back in the days, we didn't have much resources. So what we had to do is import a lot of stuff from abroad. Japan is an island country, so obviously we have to ship them. And at the same time, when we manufacture things, we had the opportunity to ship it back and sell it to the related countries abroad. So that's how he created business. Over the years, now our company is a conglomerate. So we have over 88,000 employees in more than 90 countries. And as you can see, we have more than 150 billion in terms of revenue. So we are a big corporate and complicated company. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight is that it started from a small business in a rural town. And over the years, he expanded through merger and acquisition, and also expanding the global network, which made us the current Mitsubishi Corporation as of now. From this 10 business group, I'm not going to go into one by one. So we do like energy trading, we do mineral resources, we do automotive, we are involved in food, even the consumer, like supermarkets. We do some projects related to power. We invest in real estate. But I want to take only 2 business cases that are related in Africa for today. One of the investment and what we work is called B-Box. I'm not sure, maybe some of you who actually live in sub-Saharan Africa might heard of B-Box. It's a company that provides solar home system. So as in the rural area of the sub-Saharan Africa, the power, they are not connected to the grids. So these houses rely on like kerosene lamps or maybe like a lantern. And what B-Box came up with that they provide the solar panel to each houses, and they connect to a IT system called Pulse, where the household, the family can pay the power as they use the power. So we call it pay as you go model. That's what they do. So they monitor the payment, and if the payment is there, they allow the household members to actually use the appliances. They have the light bulbs, the lights, and also they have a mini refrigerator for a service. They also have TV. They also have charger for the mobile phone. So they provide different household appliances to support these people who live in an off-grid area. They have been doing business for more than 13 years now. And as a Mitsubishi, we invested in them 4 years ago. And they have been growing the business throughout the sub-Saharan Africa. And now they are aiming for not only being a solar home system provider, but they're trying to be a super platformer. Super platformer meaning not only providing power, but they want to provide services such as e-mobility, like mobility, motorcycle business, services like finance to provide better finance for the customers, services like providing the smartphones and connecting with the pulse system. So they're trying to make this platform better to have a little bit more, how do you say, like a bigger and more service to people and consumer in Africa. One of the things that we do is we are not only just an investor to invest in them and get the dividend. So what we do is we want to add value and we want to collaborate with these startups. One of the collaborative projects that we do in Kenya is we provide VBox to the farmers, to the cooperative. We talk with the cooperative and provide farmers. And through that network, we have a digital team in Tokyo, and we actually analyze the data of the payments, and not only the payments, but the household structure, and also where these people buy what kind of sort of things. So all the data gets tracked in this IoT system. And what we want to use that data is actually provide service that these customer wants whenever they are required. So the digital team is trying to analyze that data, try to add value to VBox, and that's how we try to leverage our expertise as Mitsubishi. Another case is Olam. Olam is the headquarter is in Singapore, but they started the business in Nigeria through exporting cashew nuts to the world. They have been growing bigger and bigger, especially in Western Africa. And they are actually one of the largest farming aggregator, and not only aggregator, but also producer of different crops, including rice, coffee, flour, cotton, anywhere you can name it. We have been investing in them from 2015. And one of the aim of this investment was obviously, as being a Japanese corporate, we wanted these like cocoa beans or like cotton from Africa to bring it to Japan. That's quite obvious. But we wanted to add value to these farmers, and also how we can make a sustainable business together. So one of the projects that we do in Côte d'Ivoire is that we support these farmers, cotton farmers, on the cattle project. So they have the they do cotton farming as their main business, but they also have cattle as a side hustle. So we are trying to support those cattle business through digital payment. Digital payment, we collaborate with one of the startups in Côte d'Ivoire to provide these farmers how we can pay them in a safe and way to track So there won't be any of the like stealing of the money, or there won't be any incidents of anybody being harassed by actually moving the actual cash. So that's one of the collaboration area that we do with Olam. There are so many different cases because they are quite active in various parts of Africa. I would stop here. I've been talking a lot. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take them on. And Francois, if you have anything to add, please go ahead.
Let's see what the questions are, and then we'll take it from there, if there are any. Okay.
You can go ahead, Panasha.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'd like to follow up with a few questions that were coming up in my mind as I was listening. So the first question is, so I came to learn that Mitsubishi has got branches in different countries. So my question is related to the distribution of power across different geographical locations. For example, when looking at change management, how do local branches respond to change, and that the situations and the context in these countries are different? How do local branches adapt without changing the model or deviating from the organization's vision plan? Okay, I think I'll stop here. No, thank you.
It's a great question, and that's
Very
what Francois
interesting
and
question. Sure.
Maybe Francois, do you want to answer first?
Yeah, let me start. Okay. So I think one of the big things is when you become a big conglomerate like this, change management becomes more and more difficult. And I think, so because we're a Japanese company and we are not a multinational company, our decision processes are all centralized within Tokyo. But I think change management is, it depends on the type of change you're trying to make, and obviously the region. So what you're trying to change in Japan might not necessarily work in Kenya, for instance. So I think, as you can see from our 3 corporate principles, we are a company that is all about, yes, every company is all about making money. But I can tell you a great story about when I joined Mitsubishi and went on a leadership program in Tokyo. And I was an absolute newbie, and I come out of a corporate world that was very profit focused. And I was talking to colleagues at the table and talking about how profitability is important and how we need to make more money. And these are the things we should be doing. Unbeknown to me, though, that the colleagues I was talking to was actually the guys that would be presenting later on in the program. And in a room full of many people, got told from the stage, Francois, it's not always about profit. Sometimes you need to do stuff for the betterment of society and the impact on the environment. The profit will be the consequence of a great job. But I think change management in an entrepreneurship type of environment, I think is easy. In our environment, I think it's difficult. I'm not even going to lie. I think Ayaka will explain the same. It is difficult. It's not easy. And it tends to take much longer to effect than it does for an entrepreneur type environment. It's something that we do grapple with. It isn't something that so Mitsubishi hasn't been great at change management, but we are actually, our company is going through a transition at the moment, and we are trying to adapt to the new world order, if you want to call it that. But yeah, it's not easy. Ayaka-san.
Great way to answer. Thank you. I was also thinking about it. It does take long to make decision in a big corporate. It does. I won't lie, but there is a reason to it, and like in a startup or entrepreneurship type of business, you actually need to act fast and to take a little bit smaller risk and act fast and learn from that. I think that's the type of the business that more startups are very capable of. When it becomes a big corporate, the risk assessment will be bigger. So the CEO, unfortunately, doesn't know all the business that's happening on the ground. And that is a fact because we're so big. But in order to mitigate the risk that's taking on the ground, we have to have a protocol of what kind of how do you say, like, authority, or what kind of rules that
Structure.
has to take in place, structure, to make that decision. And these decisions are not like small investment, like $10,000 or like maybe $20,000. It's millions. So we do invest in like 4-digit million mineral resources mine, for example. So in order to do these decision at the right timing, in a way that we want to, it will take time. And as Francois said, our global headquarters is in Tokyo. So yes, they are the ones who are thinking of global strategy. And through that headquarters, all these regional headquarters are feeded the strategy and also the way forward that we're going. And within the regional strategy, where South Africa is that regional headquarter in terms of African continent, we feed that information to the different parts of Africa. I didn't mention this, but we have 11 offices in the African continent. And South Africa being the regional hub, we collaborate with different, including Maghreb regions, how we can develop business together. And it's sort of, this is the sort of the thinking that it's going on my mind the past few weeks. But because Africa is very unique in a way to develop business, I'm thinking of, instead of doing like a Moroccan business in Morocco or Ethiopian business Ethiopia, I'm trying to connect these as a virtual network to develop business together somewhere in Africa. If I answer your question.
And if I can just add one thing to what Ayaka-san has said, sorry, before you comment. Change management also needs to come from the people on the ground. So what you'll find in a corporation is that people wait to be fed stuff. Although the information is available, and like Ayaka-san said, the strategy is fed down, right down to the grassroots of the organization around the world. One of the things that we struggle with in the corporation is that we struggle with people wanting to take ownership. So the strategy is available, but people want to be spoon-fed all the time. And I think that's one of the challenges. So from a change management point of view, we try to encourage the members of the staff, and that was part of the week we've just had, is how do you take the information that you already have and make change at your level? because then that change will eventually meet change that's coming down, and together we will meet somewhere in the middle and effect the relevant or necessary steps.
Thanks, Panasha. Did we answer your question?
Yes, you did answer the question. Thank you so much. So I got that it depends on the type of change, as well as the importance. I also learned the importance of having some kind of protocol, and also that change management comes from the people on the ground. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. We have some hands up. Tapiwanashe. Am I pronouncing your name? Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's actually Tapio Nashi. You can call me TK. So my question goes
TK,
like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question goes like this. Since your company is diversified the way it is, right, and you call yourself a conglomerate, I don't know if you know the statement which says that a jack of all trades and a master of none. So how do you manage to be at the top of everything whilst you're diversifying in all those sectors or industries, they say? That's the first question. And my second question goes like this. There's a statement which says unity plus diversity is equals to university. And people say that the word university comes from these two words, unity plus diversity, right? Since you're diversified the way you are, right? How do you manage to unify all these sectors to make it one Mitsubishi Corporation in Japan? Those are my two questions. Thank you so much.
It's
Yeah,
a
okay,
great
you go first.
question. My head is spinning. How to manage?
Maybe the second one is first, maybe.
Okay, the unity and diversity.
Yeah.
Okay, unity and diversity.
There we go. That's the right slide. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Let me start. Ayaka will come in.
Go
She's
ahead.
more the academic than I am. So just to kind of explain the structure. So yes, we are a very, very diverse company, but we do come from a very siloed approach. So what Ayaka explained to you is that we have these business groups, and these business groups, each one on their own, is a substantial business by themselves. So what you will find is that in the past and for many years previously, each business group would go out and do their own thing and manage their own business in a very siloed approach. And that is where the diversity came from. So as you will see from the 10 business groups, if you take all the different names and you look at what they do, that will give you the ability to do anything from noodles to nuclear. Okay. But it wasn't one person that went, okay, we're going to do all this stuff. Each business group went out and they focused on the business that was right for them. That then brought the diversity. Okay. Now the what we've learned from that is now, how do we unify that diversity to be able to take advantage of all these business groups that we have and unite them to be able to create something even bigger. And I think, like Ayaka-san was saying, and I think there's probably a lot of talk around the world right now about how do you take single services or something as a service and then unite them and grow them into these super platforms or super type structures. And I think that's where Mitsubishi is right now. We have grown a substantial business over many years in isolation in each business group. And now we are trying to integrate all these business groups to be able to leverage our global network and our global footprint to be able to unite everything together. I hope that's kind of answered your second question.
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Maybe adding to Francois' second question's answer. We are in, as you know, we have a challenge as a global warming, climate change. And that has effect on every single business that we do. Even effects on natural gas, energy procurement, even effects on food. How are we gonna manage to produce food? And there is a new initiative this back 2 years that we need to do energy transition business through this 10 business group. So it's not only about one business group tackling one issue. So we need like a horizontal approach. And that's one of the area that Mitsubishi is now focusing on. And it's not only about energy transition, but also digital transition. How can we digitalize and optimize our current plant or industry? That is also another sector that we're trying, and it's also the two pillars that we are focusing on the next 3 years. And maybe the first question, how to manage to be top in everything. So so as Francois mentioned, each business group has its own budget and authority to invest in a certain amount and to do better business. So for example, if you're in an automotive and mobility group, they will think how we can sell more cars, better cars for the planet, or how can we provide the better service to the mobility as a service. Like that's, they think 24 hours. So they will try to do their best in their field. And that's the same as, for example, like mineral resources. So I come from mineral resources background, where I was thinking how I can produce aluminum in Mozambique in such a lowest cost. So those are goals, and we say KPI, key performance index, those are related to your daily activities. That adds up. So that will be a personal KPI, key performance index, that will add up to department and division and group, and that adds on to as a Mitsubishi Corporation. So it's not a simple process, but I think we have a structure that it fits to everyone, that to do our best in wherever job that we do in the daily life.
And as you mentioned about the jack of all trades and the master of none, yes, if you speak to many Mitsubishi members, they will actually say the same thing to you. However, what it does do is, because we have access to so much business, it allows us to cross-pollinate business between the groups. So within the group, there is focus, and the people will be focused on growing that particular type of business. What you will find is, as you move to further afield, so more sort of overseas offices, Africa's part of that region, you will find that the opportunities exist where the people have access to a lot more business across different sectors. And that is where the master of none, but the jack of all trades, really does help, because you have to understand something. You also need to understand where you are in the world. So as good as we can say, Africa has all the opportunities with the last frontier, the next billion, blah, 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 blah. You have to understand where you are. And when I'm talking to somebody in Kenya, I have to understand that when our head office is looking at a business opportunity, they are looking at a global map. They don't just have one specific area or geography to look at. So it's all about, how do we then take the information that we have across all these business units and then try and turn that into something bigger, turn it into a bigger region or a bigger business with more multiple added facets to that business. And I think that's actually one of the strengths of Mitsubishi as a company.
Thank you so much. I think I'm quite answered like on both questions that I asked. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you for your great questions. David, please.
Hello guys again. So I'll try to keep it short and clear as possible. My question. So like I was reading at the corporate responsibility like objective to the society, and it shows some positive objectives to society, like the company is striving to enrich society and like all of those things. So my question is like, so Mitsubishi is a really large company, and like as a large company, there are a lot of like, we can understand from this that there are a lot of stakeholders, and like I think it's quite hard, it's quite a bit difficult like to maintain like all the stakeholders are like following or like meeting with the objectives that you set for the company. So my question is, how does like Mitsubishi ensure that all stakeholders in the supply chain are held responsible for their environmental and social impact? And also what steps are being taken to monitor and mitigate the current and coming up potential risks that the company might face due to this? Yeah, this is my question.
I'm so amazed by how high level these questions are. Thank you so much, David. Maybe I can say from my my headquarter experience. So when we do, first of all, we do trading. When we do first trading, we do know your customer analysis. So we don't just trade, oh, this is a great deal, let's make it, let's make the deal, let's buy something from somewhere and then sell it to somewhere. No, we have to understand our customers. So there will be a lot of meetings to understand each other. And it's not about understanding them, but it's also about them understand us. For example, like a buyer or supplier understanding us. If we can't have that trust, we can't make a deal. And that's the trading part. In terms of investment, we have a due diligence process and an investment committee. And all of the investment committee document runs on the same format. And in that format, there is a lot of questions about how we are achieving this corporate responsibility and integrity and fairness. So for example, some of the questions might be, by investing in this field, are you, what are you doing towards the environment? Or how, what kind of emission are you looking for the CO2, for example? Some of the questions are like, what are the impact to the local community if you're investing in this? And we do have that format when we invest. And every year after the investment, we have the same format to actually follow up the question. And that's how we understand that we are not doing, we don't have that much of a negative impact by doing those business. Francois, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, let me just, and one of the probably the most important things that we all strive for and all understand without any shadow of a doubt is that the reputation of Mitsubishi Corporation is above all else. So whatever we do, whoever we partner with, whatever type of business we do, can never have a negative connotation, negative reputation, negative hurdle, negative bump against the company. So whatever type of business we go into, it's always above board, and it always has to be for the betterment of what we are trying to achieve as a company, which includes the society and the environment.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you. Any other? Oh, sorry. Richard, please go ahead.
Yeah, for HG, now almost and all of
Sorry, Richard.
We,
Is it only me or
no, we can't hear what he's
no?
saying.
Oh,
It's breaking up
okay.
all the time.
Can you post
Can you
your
hear me now?
question? Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so like a global question,
Uh,
like just the
Sorry, Richard.
impact of time.
We lost you.
Wow.
Post your
Okay, let me.
question in chat. Maybe that would that help? Okay. In the meantime, let's go to Mayubongwe.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much. Don't mind my name. My name is very hard to pronounce for other people. So my question is like, what are some of the measures that you're doing, especially in the southern part of Africa, in terms of you talked about solar energy, because even in rural and urban areas, people do have challenges when it comes to access to electricity. Yeah.
Sorry, if I understood your question, what is our strategy towards solar in rural areas, or?
Yes.
In Southern
Yes.
Africa.
So, yes. So what are your strategies? Because even people in urban areas, they do struggle with electricity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think some of it is because even when we buy solar energy, I think some of it is because we lack like enough information when it comes to things that we're supposed to buy. So could you share a bit about that? Yeah.
Sure. So Bbox is trying to promote in the rural areas. So they have a kiosk in the rural areas to support and also market the solar home system itself. But I do understand that it's still, there's a challenges, because even still now, there's about 585 million people without access to energy. And so it's not only Bbox, but there are similar companies like Bbox that are trying to unlock this gap of access to energy. What I hear from the Bbox colleague is that the subsidy from the government or like UN or the World Bank, that actually accelerates that access to power. So the more fund that flows into that power sector through the governmental or the United Nations fund, that will actually help these projects expand in a quicker way. That's the challenges that we have. And also, we have an investment in a Turkish company called Çelik Energy, and they are EPC. Okay, EPC is like constructing of bigger wind farms or solar panel to have a little bit more bigger energy source. They are very aggressive in the African continent, and we have been discussing with them how we can use their expertise of constructing a bigger power, renewable energy power source in the off-grid areas. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. So we have the question from Richard. Okay, what impact does outside foreign policy have on your operation in certain countries? especially strategic country in the global market? This is also a great question. Yes, so in our midterm corporate strategy, there's a keyword that we use. It's called global intelligence. And the way the world is moving is that I feel, and I also talk a lot about with this, my colleagues, is uncertainty. We never thought like Russia would have an attack on Ukraine 1 year ago. It was just mind blowing to us. So in terms of uncertainty, we need to assess what's going on in each country, which we actually have a strength in because we have offices over 90 countries. We have staff to actually analyze what's going on. So in terms of foreign policies in Africa, what we do is that we do an analyze of what European countries are doing in Africa, what US is doing in Africa, what China is doing in Africa. And we compare that through forum or summit that they host, and also trading volume and trading areas that they do, investments in which field that they do, and also some of the military acts that they have. And that's how we assess, and we take that as an opportunity and also risk to see which areas that Mitsubishi wants to do business in. So it has a lot of impact in terms of outside foreign policies. And we do communicate occasionally with the outside offices, for example, like Washington, D.C., where all of the U.S. policies and the politics are going on. And I think, sorry, I'm echoing myself, but we do try to integrate our intelligence source to assess the impact on our business. Francois, do you have anything to add?
In other words, yes,
Ah,
it definitely has an impact on our investment decisions, and it will be taken into consideration before making any final decisions, because the world is a small village, and as we all know, the saying goes, when America sneezes, the rest of us catch the cold. So it's something that has to be accounted for in any investment decision, especially considering that we are a global network, and it could have an effect on any other business that we have globally.
Maybe I can add one example. Our profit, this profit, $8.5 billion, about 30% consists from the metallurgical coal, which is a coal used to produce steel. And it comes from Australia. And it used to be traded towards Japan, but now a lot of the part is traded towards China. When the China and US global relationship became a little bit awkward, China said, we don't want to import coal from Australia, sorry. That has a significant impact on our profit. So our coal team did a deep study of what's happening in China, what are the relationship of US and China, and what is the future scenario. So we do a lot of political analysis in terms of that relates to a business that actually impacts our profit. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Maybe can we go to Francois's automotive? Sorry, do we have a? Yes, David, thank you for your comment. Yes, we do maintain strong relationship. We try to maintain strong relationship with the local governments in each offices. For example, every 3 years, Japan and Africa hosts a summit. It's a government to government level and also a private level. So last year we had that summit in Tunisia, and more than 40 countries in Africa head of states attended that meeting. In that summit, as a Mitsubishi Corporation, all of the office general managers gather in that summit, and we do have one-on-one meeting with the head of states, discussing various business opportunities and projects that are potentially there in each countries. And we don't think that we can do only business with a private sector. We have to have a buy-in from the government, and also from not only the government, but other stakeholders like, how do you say, like World Bank or IFC or those nation-related institutions. So we okay. Can I hand the floor to Francois for your automotive part?
Okay, so I'm not going to give you a presentation, but I think what I wanted to explain was entrepreneurship. And I mean, you know, there's nothing I can teach you guys about entrepreneurship, because you know, I'm here to learn from you guys. And actually, I think, but the message that I would like to pass on today is that an entrepreneur is obviously somebody that starts a business and takes the risk of starting that business, as the definition would go. But I think in the same way, in the corporation, there are entrepreneurs within the corporation too. Yes, they might not be taking the risk themselves, but actually the corporation would never grow if there weren't entrepreneur-minded people within the company, because those are the people that help develop the new business and grow the business to where it needs to be at the next level. And the example I wanted to give is that when I joined Mitsubishi, so the one thing you'll find out about Mitsubishi Corporation is risk is not part of our vocabulary. We don't like to take risk. And if we do, it will be very calculated, and there will be a lot of guarantees in place to avoid any fallback. So one of the challenges we had is when we were supplying motor vehicles into Southern Africa, is that the guys had to put a lot of guarantees in place during the order process to receive their vehicles. And as you can imagine, you know, the price of a car is expensive. So when it came to ordering several vehicles at a time, there were a lot of guarantees that needed to be put in place. And the order pipeline actually worked out to be sort of a 6-month process. And because we don't take risk, from the time we got the order, we would have to have guarantees in place, and secured guarantees, right up until the day that vehicle was delivered. So over a 6-month period, a small distributor business in Africa would need to tie up funds and have it stuck for 6 months while we went through our internal processes and tried to deliver vehicles on time. And obviously for a small business in Africa, that's obviously a very hard thing to do. And one of the things that we realized is that this was also limiting our potential to be able to grow the market, because these guys had limited resources and weren't able to just order whatever they wanted when they wanted. So we came up with a different strategy. We looked at the supply chain and we tried to look at how do we tear it apart and put it back together in a way that would make sense for the distributor. So what we did is we looked at the methodology of it all, and then came up with a solution utilizing South Africa as a base. And I think with you guys as entrepreneurs, I think one of the things that we were trying to identify is what are the needs of the customer, because if we can meet the needs of the customer, then we can obviously help them grow their business. And it was more about what can we do to help you grow your business. So what we did is by incorporating our South African business, which was a much bigger, substantial business than the rest of Southern Africa, we were able to secure stock within South Africa, and then allowed the smaller countries to order stock from our South African operation. So we went from turning around a supply chain from a 6-month lead time for them, tying up all their funds, to a 6-week lead time. So from the time they ordered the vehicle in, let's call it Zambia, for instance, we would be able to source that vehicle in South Africa and ship it to them almost within a week. And the way we were able to do that is we understood the trends. So we had the data. We knew what the order patterns were. We understood what their markets were, what sort of vehicles they ordered, what sort of vehicles they would need. And by understanding the data, we were able to place orders with very little risk, because we knew, yes, there was risk, obviously, and we may need to sit on stock a little bit longer. But we knew that the type of business that we're doing, we would be able to supply the stock, and we knew that they would order the stock over time. That changed the business almost overnight. And I think we grew the business by 3 or 4 times the volume. But I think, so the message was, even at our little level, we know when you're, the big guys that sit in Tokyo managing these billion-dollar businesses, it's all about, if we have that entrepreneurial mindset, look at where we can make the change. We were able to make the change, and it had a major impact going forward. And actually what happened is, as Mitsubishi's business developed further, and as we changed our strategy from a trading company to more of an investment trading company, we actually spun out that business, and it is now operating through the Motors Group in South Africa, and very successfully so. And they have actually been able to grow the brand, the Mitsubishi Motors brand, throughout Southern Africa very successfully.
Thank you, Francois. Does anybody have any question?
There we go.
I see some thumbs up.
Thanks.
Any questions? No.
Yeah.
How do we get in touch with you? Touch with us?
Very easy.
We're more than
Email.
happy. Yeah, email. Maybe
Oh.
I can post our emails in the chat. Yeah, I'll just do so now. We are very happy to discuss with you further on. I just want to mind the time, because you guys have such an excellent questions. We have 15 more minutes left, and instead of doing a group discussion, I'm thinking if you have any ideas or any actually advice to us, to the big, maybe if you want to do business with big corporates, like what do you want these corporates to change, or what if you're facing any challenges, developing your business, collaborating with like a multinational company, what are your challenges? Or maybe we can use this 15 minutes to actually want to hear from you guys if you're comfortable. How do you feel? Yes, TK.
I think like the first challenge, you talked about it, channels of communication, right? So some channels of communication are elongated, and when you send maybe a request, it takes a while for it to be replied. That is what I've realized from this big multi-corporation that we have in the world and stuff like that. The other thing that I've noticed is a mismatch in culture. So there's the senior management of that multi-corporation, right? And then the people that get paid the minimum wages, something like those low wages, they tend to have a mismatch in the culture. What they say and what those people at the top say are totally different. You get it? So if I can give an example, it's like what Elon Musk says on Twitter is different to someone who's working in the factory, putting the lights each and every day says. So it's like mismatch in what they're communicating to the outside world. So that will sort of like make a glitch in their brain perception and communication and what they're trying to make us perceive as the customers and the world. So I think those are two things that I've realized about big multi-corporations. Mitsubishi maybe included. It could be that. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, TK, for great comment.
Statement.
We even have challenges internally. We send out emails and no response, even though we're colleagues. We do have that, so maybe I shouldn't share that out loud, but we even have that as a big corporate. I think what I do, I try to find the right person and develop the relationship, like a business relationship with that person. If you meet few person related to the area that you want to contact, you will sort of have a feeling of maybe he or she is the right person, or maybe he or she doesn't know the right information. And it takes time to understand that. But I try to not waste my time just sending an email to only one person. I try to be creative to access in a different way. Sometimes I even ask my boss to access to somebody that I can access who's high level, too high level for me. Sometimes I actually engage with my stakeholder to say something for me to persuade the boss. Like it's sort of like using an outsider to persuade internally. There are different ways to actually unlock that challenge. So it will be nice to, if you can try and see what you feel comfortable looking for the channel of the communication. I guess that's my best advice I could give you, Francois.
I think, yeah, I think from our side, I think what we've found, and look, we have our problems too, is that what tends to happen is people send emails and then, you know, kind of, we call it throw the ball at the other person and then expect, you know, the golden reply. But what I'd like to encourage you guys to do is, if you don't get a reply, then it's up to you to follow up. So depending on the level of person and how busy they are, you know, they might have seen your email and gone, geez, I really need to get back to TK, but then life happens and, you know, I forgot. And then it's up to TK then to go, you know, hi, Francois, you know, I did send you an email, you know, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, you know, just following up, you know, this is what's happened in the meantime. Are you able to, you know, to give me an update or provide me with some feedback? Or, you know, the other great thing is we have these things they call telephones. You know, just phone somebody, phone a friend. We tend, this new virtual world has taught us to text everything and digitalize everything, but there's nothing like a phone call, to get somebody on the spot and get them to answer you right there and then.
Or even more advanced than telephone, it's actually go yourself, face to face. You visit that person in the office. That's the best. Like, just say to the receptionist, "Hi, I'm here to meet someone." I think that's the best way you can actually meet someone, and to show that you're that serious. I think that's the best way. Thanks, DK. Richard, would you like to?
Yeah, I had Mr. Francisco, sorry if I don't pronounce the name correctly. He was talking about one thing that you would recommend as a kind of corporation that is operating worldwide. Well, I was thinking, like, in the entrepreneur section, basically we might think about being monopolistic. So if you have that one opportunity, or for you to recommend to the top management at Mitsubishi, will you tell them for you to move from, because now I believe you guys are operating in a form of globalization industry, will you advise the management to move from globalization to a more monopolistic market, or you prefer the perfect market scenario?
So I just want to make sure I understand the question correctly. So what you're asking is, would I want the management to change from a more globalized sort of approach to a more monopoly or
Yes.
single-minded approach?
Yeah, from a perfect market to a more monopolistic market. Yeah.
So I think in our specific case, I think if I ever was able to change the structure of our company through our management, I think what I would like to say is that we need to decentralize a lot of our decision making and allow geographies to be able to have more decision making power rather than keeping everything centralized. I think that would kind of be my main. And then the other thing, which you wouldn't know, would be to change the internal communication, the language communication, to English rather than Japanese. Those would be the two things. Sorry, Ayaka-san. Maybe Ayaka can also comment on that, please.
When we read the latest strategy document, even though we're trying to be global, but I feel that we are trying to be very conservative in a way to focus on business in Japan. So what I'm trying to promote is, okay, it's fine. Maybe because we're Japanese, I understand we do need to do business in Japan. But Japan has its own challenges, being an aging society. 1 in 3 people will be over 65 in 2 years, which is such a fear for me. But if we are to survive doing business in Japan sustainably and develop and to make a better world, we have to have a globalization. So as me being Japanese sitting in South Africa, what I'm trying to promote internally is that how we can fit Africa to that business portfolio to be a sustainably developing corporate to do more business in Africa. So it's a very interesting, I think it's very interesting era of what we're thinking. It used to be like globalization is great. And now I feel because of the uncertainty, it's becoming like a lot of the countries like US or Europe are trying to be very conservative. So I think it has its cycles, but only solution for myself is to assess what's happening and have your own opinion and act that you think is good for the betterment of the world.
And if I can add one thing from an Africa specific region point of view, is Africa is such a diverse continent, but yet, you know, we don't seem to want to do enough for ourselves. And I suppose 54 countries makes it a little bit more tricky. But I think there are lots of efforts of trying to nearshore, you know, lots of processes and manufacturing and whatever it might be. And I think that that's probably an opportunity for Africa in the future. And that's the kind of stuff that we would need to be looking at is, you know, how do we not end up being affected by a supply chain crisis in the future? And I think, you know, as Africa, we have the skill set, we have the availability and the capability to be able to change the way we do things in order to avoid these types of things in the future. And but what it takes is a change in the mindset as well as a long-term mindset, you know, to be able to and want to make the change for the betterment of society over the long term. And I think that's one thing that Mitsubishi really does well, is when we commit to something and when we do something, it's not a business that okay, here we are and then we're out. We commit. Mitsubishi has got partners that we've had for many, many, many years, and it will take us a long time to build a partner. But once we're your partner, we're there for the long run. And I think that's what's important.
Thank you, everyone. And I really like the comments like that David has in the chat box. It's encouraging us to prioritize more on corporate responsibility and managing it. Yeah, to create the long-term value. And I totally agree. I think we tend to reach out for the results that we can achieve earlier in like 2-3 years. But I think as a big corporate, our strength is that we can look in longer term. And as Francois said, we are looking for longer relationships. So I hope we could have a lot more longer relationship with entrepreneurs like you guys to have more to expand our business together.
I think Ayaka-san knows, I think I can say this pretty openly. You know, Ayaka-san introduced me to ALA. And I've said ever since I met the first batch of you guys and, you know, the incredible mindset that you guys have, I've always said that, you know, these are the future leaders of Africa. You know, these are the people that we should be talking to and communicating with and staying in touch with, because hopefully when you guys finish your ALA tenure, you move on to a university somewhere, hopefully in Japan, and you come back to Africa and want to start that great business. And Mitsubishi is not the startup type of company, you know, that does all those investments, but over the long term, you know, I think that it would be awesome to one day go back and go, remember that first discussion we had, the teams meeting, and now we are doing a negotiation of how we can support your business or how you can support our business. And I think that's awesome. This is really awesome. Okay.
Great.
Are we done?
Thank you. Maybe if we don't have any more questions for the participants.
I think TK has a question.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
As for the question as such, thank you so much for the session. So like, I was kindly asking if you can share the presentation with us, if that's okay with you.
Sure. I will post it now in the chat with my email address.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe put the link to
or-
maybe put the link to our corporate video as well. So I'm a
Sure.
video guy.
Or-
I like YouTube. I like getting my news and content from a video source. I go, reading is something they did in the 1800s.
Yeah, he's younger generation. Yeah.
So we've got a great video that explains who we are and what we do.
Yeah. Or should I post it in this Google Docs or? Or just upload in the chat is fine?
Yeah. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Maybe I'll pass the floor to the Kuge. While I post my presentation, I'll try my best to do it now.
Okay. So yeah, I think if there's no more questions, the session is pretty much over. Just one more thing though. So there's a feedback form that we sent in the chat. It was sent by Safe Team to everyone as a Google Doc. So for the participants, if they could please fill it out before they leave, that would be awesome. And a big shout out to the Mitsibushi team. It was a very nice session. Thank you guys for taking time out to come and give us a little bit more information about your guys' self and how you guys operate. I feel like it was very fruitful for the participants. Thank you guys.
Thank you very
guys
much. It
for
was
amazing questions. Yeah, great to communicate with you. It's very
awesome to be a
inspiring for
part
us.
of this. Thank you very much for allowing us to be a part of this. It was great.
Thank you very much for your time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, cheers, everybody. Enjoy what's left of your Saturday. We hope that you have a fruitful and productive day.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for your efforts.
Sorry, I can't
and-
post my PDF. Can I send it to Momo or is it?
Yeah. I think you can send it to us separately and then we'll just reach out to participants.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, great.
and one more thing for the participants, just a reminder that tomorrow is pitching day. So we encourage you guys to please check your pitching times again and be well prepared for tomorrow. And yeah, good luck.
Now you're starting to sound like a bosses in Mitsubishi.
Sure.
Yeah, cheers, everybody. Take it easy. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.